Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people. Today is June 11th, 2021, one day after the total solar eclipse. And I wanted to share with you a few pieces of information today as we're watching for the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I want to share with you different news items that came out. Over the last few days connected to this total solar eclipse. Yesterday, very interesting that exactly on the day of the total solar eclipse, first time in history, Iranian warships enter Atlantic Ocean. This is by no means a coincidence that on the day of the total solar eclipse, this news item came out. First time in history. This is a very extreme piece of information, as Iran has rounded the corner on the southern tip of Africa, and they have entered into the Atlantic Ocean, and that puts them in the line of sight of the United States, as this could be connected to the war drums and connected to the total solar eclipse on June 10th. Here's another piece of information that came out. Britain detains Noah's Ark, doubting it can handle the sea. Very interesting that as we are waiting for the beginning of the Great Tribulation and the days of Noah and the sign of the Son of Man, we have information. We have a news item coming out about Noah's Ark. Is this not to get our attention that we are in the days of the coming flood? We need to pay attention because everything is jumping off the pages of the newspapers and of history and of the Bible, and trying to wake up those who can be woken up in this late hour. Another very important piece of information that came out yesterday: Lake Mead at Hoover Dam reaches a record low, and this news item is coming out. Yesterday it was on the Drudge Report. And is this a coincidence that connected with the total solar eclipse on the same day we've got this extreme news item that could throw 40 million people into lack of water, as this is producing not only water to drink, but it's also producing electricity in this area, and through the electrical plants that need this water to run. So this item also came out very interesting on this day. Here's a piece of information. This is kind of in the middle of everything else. I just wanted to share this. I put this together because pretty interesting that from the two great American eclipses, the top line here, the two great American eclipses, we had a middle point, which was December 14th. And that was the beginning of the jabbing. It was also the Electoral College, and the election of Joe Biden was confirmed on that day. And then we also had the total solar eclipse on December 14th, midweek Hanukkah. So that was a middle day. X marks the spot. And then we have two eclipses from Hanukkah to Hanukkah, December 14th, 2020 to December 4th, 2021. And the middle date on that was the solar eclipse from June 10th, the exact middle. And so this is an interesting detail. And we have gone past this now as we're watching, does X mark the spot? Well, then we have another interesting detail that from June 10th going to the December 4th Hanukkah total solar eclipse, it's 177 days. So that means it's 88 days. The exact middle point is 88 days from June 10th to the Feast of Trumpets, and then from the Feast of Trumpets to December 4th. It's 88 days. The exact middle day is the Feast of Trumpets. And about 2 weeks ago, before I got blocked off of YouTube, I shared a piece of information that got me blocked off of YouTube, and I was talking about the jabbing of the babies. And they have that planned for September. Does that possibly mark the time of our escape when God will come and rescue the children who are not making the decision on their own to get jabbed? And so we are in the midst of so many warnings right now. We are in June. We've got this eclipse that just happened, warnings that are coming now and leading up to the summer solstice. But we also have a very important piece of information about the Feast of Trumpets. And so this is the middle day on in between these last two eclipses in 2021. The middle day is the Feast of Trumpets. Is this connected to the rapture of the church and the jabbing of the children, of the babies? Here's a piece of information, and this is interesting about this Egyptian art here. We have this ball disc in between the horns, right? And this is a very important piece of information from ancient Egypt. While at the same time, this exact eclipse that took place on June 10th was in the middle of the horns of Taurus. Okay, so that is a very unique piece of information. And then beyond that, we have this piece of information. Well, in 1 second, we'll get to it. One more piece of information connected to that. Here we have this news item coming out. Joints for jabs. Do people need to be bribed? Do people need to be tricked, enticed? Joint for jabs. I mean, people can get a $5 joint or a $10 joint on the street, and they're trading joints for jabs. Marijuana stores in Washington can offer pot for vaccines and joints for jabs proposal. So what do you guys think about that? This is pretty amazing times we're living in. Pretty incredible. Now this is an interesting detail here, okay? Apocalypto. And I had not noticed this previously, but even in the title of Apocalypto is the total solar eclipse. As you can recall, if you have seen this movie, and on Amazon Prime, we recently, over the last couple days, my wife actually had a tooth taken out, and she needed to be in some bed rest. And we were looking at some things, and we wanted to watch this movie. And my wife is Mayan, you know. We're living here in the Yucatan Peninsula. This is basically right where the movie was made. It's the history of the Mayans. And my wife, as she was watching this movie, she could understand the whole movie in Mayan. See, this Mayan language still exists today, and obviously the culture has changed a lot from the way it used to be, the savagery and the human sacrifice. But anyway, the whole story of this, pretty interesting, that in the middle of their sacrifice, this total solar eclipse came, and they ended up stopping the sacrifices because they had reached the full of the blood that they needed to offer to the gods, and this was their sign that they had given enough blood, they had done enough human sacrifice. But then part of the movie contained a prophecy about the end of the Mayan world, the end of the Mayan era, the end of the Mayan culture as it was at that time. And so This total solar eclipse led to the end of the sacrifices and then this big chase that took place as they were pursuing these slaves. They were going to let them free, but at the same time, it was a big game, just like the Hunger Games. And they released the prisoners, but at the same time, they went and hunted them. Well, anyway, the very end of the movie showed the arrival of the boats from Spain, the arrival of Christopher Columbus's expedition, and the arrival of the Spanish culture. Okay, and so I actually did some research on this as I was watching, and in 1511 was the year that the Spanish arrived. There was a total solar eclipse over Yucatan. And that was very interesting that there was a total solar eclipse over Yucatan Peninsula, and the arrival of the Spanish boats did actually mark the beginning of the end of the Mayan culture. Obviously took a long time. It was not done in one day, but it was a definite sign, and it was connected to the end of the Mayan world as we know it. And it's the arrival of the New World, and the New World Order. Will the New World Order be connected with a total solar eclipse? And so I found that interesting. I actually did a study on a number of different movies, and there's all kinds of movies that have a total solar eclipse within the cover. And anyway, just a lot of things like that. So, and then we have the arrival of the giants, as in the days of Noah. The giants are coming. Now, this piece of information I wanted to share with you guys. That massive sinkhole shocks Jerusalem while Israel recites Torah portion of KORAH. Okay, this is a very interesting piece of information that came off of Israel 365 News. And the situation here is that they're in the time of the Torah readings, where they're reading about the rebellion of KORAH, where the ground opened up and swallowed up the people. So as all of Jews around the world are reading this Torah portion of KORAH, and Korah's rebellion, and the ground opening up and swallowing up the rebellious, at the same time, God sends a sign right in Jerusalem, and this massive sinkhole opens. Okay, and this God is speaking, trying to get the attention of the people. God is real. God is speaking. God is alive. These signs are true, and God is coming, and He's showing us in so many different ways. Okay, now here is what I wanted to share with you guys. Another piece of information about the total solar eclipse in the horns, connected to the ancient Egypt, and the total solar eclipse in the horns of Taurus. Now, here is a piece of information I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, and this is amazing because 5 days before the rebirth of Israel, there was a total solar eclipse in Taurus on May 9th, 1948. Okay, this total solar eclipse on the right-hand side was in Taurus, 1948, 5 days before the rebirth of Israel. Okay, then we have in June, we have a total solar eclipse in Taurus, and according to many calendars, this could be Ascension Day, which was June 10th. And so here is an interesting detail that in May of 1948, this total solar eclipse in Taurus marked something that was coming very, very soon. It was not exactly on that day, but just within 5 days. On the 14th of May, 1948, we have the rebirth of Israel, right? Total solar eclipse in Taurus. So how powerful a sign is a total solar eclipse in Taurus? We shall soon find out, especially as we're looking at the possibility of June 10th being Ascension Day, June 20th being Pentecost, possibly on the true heavenly calendar. So we need to be watching in the coming days. All the signs are showing we could be right now arriving at the time of the return of Jesus Christ. And I wanted to share this piece of information with you also. If you are connected to Tram on Facebook, he's got a couple very important posts about June 10th and June 20th. And this can also be found at his website, theseasonofhisreturn.com. And June concurrence, another reason 2021 could be a pivotal year in Bible prophecy. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that T.W. Tram has written excellent pieces of information leading us to see all the signs connected to the possibility of June 2021. Obviously, no man knows the day or the hour, but we are watching for the signs of Christ's return. And this is what I wanted to share with you guys today. I pray you're all blessed as we continue to wait. And the Lord is definitely speaking. We are in the midst of the greatest time in human history. Do not lose heart. Continue to wait. Continue to watch and pray. The Lord is coming soon. I pray you are blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.